Welcome everybody. We have a very special week for you. We have our special guest, Josh Perry, who is a professional BMX rider, TBI brain tumor survivor. He recently went to our Atlanta clinic and underwent a full evaluation. He developed his passion for BMX riding in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. What an awesome place. I love
Beautiful.
teaching there, where he was born and raised. When he was 17, he moved to Greenville, North Carolina to go after his career as a professional BMX athlete and ride with some of the best riders in the world, like Ryan Nyquist and Dave Mira. Josh won his first pro contest and best trick contest. It means he has an amazing cerebellum. In 2009, winning him a brand new Harley Davidson motorcycle. Following the big success, he made his first appearance in the X Games and continued to compete in the Do Action Sports Tour. At age 21, in April 2010, Josh had surgery in order to remove a brain tumor taking up the entire left side of his brain. This was a major turning point that put him on track to learn about taking better care of his brain and body and nutrition. In November 2012, Josh had gamma knife radiation treatment, actually pioneered by one of our friends, Chris Duma, to treat two new tumors. This was a new eye-opener experience for Josh and his health, which led him to look deeper into holistic health and nutrition.
It's amazing. Welcome, Josh. And I have a question for people who don't know what BMX is, because we have a lot of people who like different age ranges. It's bike racing. And so you had bikes and motorcycles and all the things as a neurosurgical ICU nurse that were like, ouch. Did you ever crash?
Yeah,
Hard.
no, I mean, of course. And first of all, thank you guys so much for your time, for having me on. Like I said before, it's been 5 years in the making to be able to have a conversation with the both of you and have a spec image. So I'm beyond grateful. And yeah, right. That's something you accept from a very young age. I mean, whether you're going to advance to where I've wanted to go or not, it's just you fall down, and that's just part of life. So on bike, it's just a little bit more risk. But I should clarify too. So with BMX, it's like a bicycle.
Right.
20-inch rims, unlike 26-inch rims or bigger for mountain bikes. But what I competed in is the tricks, like X Games, like backflips, tricks. I didn't ever race. I found out about racing later on, so it would have been a better development to the fundamentals had I gone that route. But I always had to clarify that. So I do like the tricks and the more crazy, riskful things.
Right. So interesting. So that's already a brain risk. That's a very big risk for a brain. And then you developed a tumor. That's pretty scary. So tell us about that. What happened?
Yeah, a little bit. So thankfully I had fallen and hit my head. It was March 2010, and I was trying a new trick outside of the foam pit. So the foam pit is a big, long rectangle full of foam blocks that we built a ramp into, and kind of spilled out technology from gymnastics so we can safely try a trick. So I wanted to do this trick at the next contest. So I got to try it at home on the real ramp first. And I overcompensated the rotation and the flip of the trick, and on my side, hit my head, get knocked out. Now, a year prior, I had gone to the emergency room, urgent care, multiple times of these headaches and migraines that lead me to losing my vision and throwing up. And they deny me every time I ask for a scan. Like, I didn't care what kind of scan, just something. They say, no, you're healthy, you're young, you just have headaches, pretty normal in this country. Here's some painkillers, come back to me more. So moving to March 2010, that crash literally saved my life because it forced them to give me an MRI. And I remember driving there just thinking, oh, I hit my head, I got knocked out. This is just evaluation of the brain post, concussion. Didn't think anything of it. Just how long till I can ride again, And I'm sitting there waiting for the results to come back. And I'll never forget, like, the doctor walks in and he says, we have your report. There's no swelling, there's no bleeding. So, the concussion, that take some time off, but that's checked out. But there's something in your brain that shouldn't be there. And I remember laughing out loud and asking, like, what do you mean there's something in my brain? Like, I didn't put anything in there. Like, how could there be anything in there? I got a skull protecting it. And he followed up with, there's a large mass taking over a good portion left side of your brain. We don't know if it's benign or cancerous. Would you know if you want a shot at preserving your life, you have to have surgery immediately, and you may still not wake up, and you'll probably never ride your bike again. And I'm by myself. I just turned 21 in November prior, and I'm just thinking, what? Like, I just heard cancer, never gonna ride your bike again, you may die. And everything just started shutting down. The only way I can explain it is I just felt broken, just kind of like you don't ever expect that at any age, let alone when you're 21, like a few years into living your dream, and then thinking you're just getting a concussion for it. And then you have cancer, you have a tumor, whether it's benign or not.
That's crazy.
So you actually were how old when you were
23,
diagnosed with cancer?
Mine was not nearly as, they didn't tell me I was going to die, but I remember hearing the word cancer. My experience was a little bit different. I refused to hear it. It was so surreal that I was like, what are you talking about? I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I couldn't take it in. And I just thought they were insane. And I just kept, it's such a surreal experience. But to hear you're going to die, I didn't even hear I was going to die. And I went into a deep depression. It was such a weird shutting down process, just like you said. It's like everything just begins to collapse on itself. I think at that age, you think you're invincible. And when that sudden realization that you're not only not invincible, but you're actually fairly fragile. I mean, everything could shut down. Is such a bizarre realization at that. We just don't expect that at that age. You just don't expect it. But then in your case, to hear that you could die is, I think, I can't even imagine, especially for a young guy who's riding bikes and racing. I mean, you're just like at the prime,
Well, and for those of you listening to this, Google Josh Perry BMX, and you'll see the amazing tricks that he can do.
And so you had gotten all this attention for being, just really at the top of your game, and now to hear you're not going to ride again had to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't anything I ever it never went through my head on the way there or sitting there waiting like this may happen. And of course, fear set in, anxiety, stress, worry, all these things. And then the victim mentality, I literally was thinking like, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Am I such a bad person that like this is going to happen now? And it was a pretty quick transition from diagnosis to surgery. It was about a week and a half, 2 weeks, where I went to Duke University and saw Dr. Alan Friedman. And 3 things that helped transition me from fear to fuel of just, no, like I treat it like an injury. Like how long, when can I get back on my bike? What do I do? It was my mom's story battling colon cancer, and she's alive and well today, but I saw her go through that, and she hid a lot of that from me when I first left home so I could pursue BMX. The BMX community that I created a name for myself worldwide let me know, like, hey, we got your back. We're thinking of you. You got this. Just stay strong. Whether they knew me or not, they just heard of me. And then learning Lance Armstrong's story. To me, that was, in BMX, you see a trick done for the first time, and everyone else starts doing it. It's like this, you see it, then you can do it. And so seeing Lance Armstrong, another cyclist, wheels on the ground for the most part, a little different than my style of riding, but to me, he went through brain, lung, and testicular cancer. To me at the time, I was like, hey, I'm going through a third of this, and they don't even know if it's cancer. It's like he had cancer. Like he did this, came back to the level of riding he did, and no matter what people's opinion is of how he did that,
right.
To get to that level after going through something like that is unfathomable. And I'm just going through the brain tumor of all things that he went through. It's like,
so you got a mentor to watch.
Exactly.
In essence. Yeah. We think that's really powerful.
Yeah, his mother who went through cancer and Lance Armstrong.
Right. So that's a really powerful thing we tell people to do.
Support of
your
community.
Yeah, huge.
Is really important.
So he had the psychology, so we talk about biology, psychology, your social circle, and your spiritual circle. And you definitely had the psychology and the social circle down. I don't know about the biology, even because you were young and you were fit and you were eating, from what I understand, you decided to start eating really healthy and pay attention to what you were doing. And I don't know what the spiritual circle was, but you had those 3 down, which is really important. And that's what we talk about, is those 4 circles. They're like 4 wheels on a car, right? Mm-hmm. So one of those wheels is flat and it's a little harder to recover, right? It's hard to drive the car.
And that's what's funny, because I know you guys are really big about community, and that's one of the biggest things I learned about holistic health in general is all these communities, they have that. They're not isolated. They're not living in a box with no light. Like they're enjoying themselves, and it's contagious, that energy. And
absolutely,
it was after diagnosis I got into nutrition. But it's funny because ever since I was younger, and my parents, my family always were like, work hard for the life you want. Anything is possible. Just put the work in. And there is like BMX and sports in general teaching me like there is no failure. You fall down, like audit what happened, reverse engineer the path to success, try again. So Now my biggest passion is mindset. It's not any of the things I've gone through, brain tumors or nutrition. It's literally the psychology.
I
have a lot of great virtual mentors that I refer to them as virtual mentors. And you guys are some of them that I've been able to connect with, and which is amazing. But that's the first thing I talk about now. Like whether someone's like, hey man, like how do I do this trick, or how do I, change up my diet? It's let's figure out why you want to do that. What's the purpose behind it? And really let's figure out your psychology, your subconscious beliefs. And it's funny seeing, like, I'm 30 now, reflecting the last 10 years, even like how big of a factor that was, the success I had. I didn't really know it. It was embedded in me subconsciously. And now I'm like very aware of it and trying to learn more and share more of that, because I think that's the biggest piece, is that mindset.
Did you go back to riding after the brain surgery, the first one?
5 weeks later.
5 weeks later.
Wow.
And what did the neurosurgeon say about that?
So Dr. Friedman was like, yeah, it's about 4 weeks for the skull to fuse back together. And I was like, whoa, I thought I was at a year best case scenario. I didn't do much research. I was just, let's get in. And he's like, let's take another week. We'll just see how it goes. So week 4 went in, the 4 titanium screws holding the skull back to place, or everything settled well, fused back. So let's take another week, just to make sure you're good. Helmet, pads, back on the ramps, week 5. 2 months later, I was competing again.
That's crazy. I want to mention something.
That is insane.
That is insane, yeah. But he's young and he's, passionate.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something you said, because it's been a huge thing in my life. The falling. You said you fall down, you get back up. So I practice martial arts, and it was so powerful for me. And why are you laughing at me? As always, he's laughing at me. He has this thing about laughing at me.
I'm thinking everybody's insane now.
Right.
Brain surgery, because people don't get brain surgery is a traumatic brain injury. Somebody's messing with the physical functioning of your brain. I'm looking at your scans, and I can actually see where the tumor was, where they took it out.
Yeah.
And for him to green light you back on your bike.
Yeah, but there is a psychological
risky.
component.
If you watch the videos, how many times before the first surgery do you think you fell and hit your head?
So this is what Dr. Ali and I were going over. My report was, I was like, there's not enough space. Let's talk about this. So up until that point, that I can vividly remember was 1, 2. There was 4 from the time I started riding, about 12 or 13 till that point, that I know I got knocked out for sure. One of them I was 16 actually with a seizure from it that my friend informed me of after I woke up. But now that I've learned a lot more about concussions and how you don't need to get knocked out to get a concussion, or an MRI can still clear you to be concussion free, like, man, I've hit my head quite a bit to where I saw stars, or I was just like, and that hurt, and I had a headache for a day or so.
Oh.
So up until that point, I'd say comfortably, I would say I had about 7 times I hit my head, whether I got knocked out or I hit it hard. And that was a big wake up call, was, hey, you got a brain tumor. So let's learn about brain health.
Wow. When we come back, we are going to talk about more of the impact of traumatic brain injury. Stay with us.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com, or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.